Hello, my haunted friends, and welcome to Foxfire Paranormal. In celebration of America's Independence Day, I wanted to dive into the spookier side of colonial America. Let's get started with the haunted Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Independence Hall, a cornerstone of American history, began its construction in 1732 and was completed in 1753. Originally built as the Pennsylvania State House, this iconic building saw its construction unfold in stages, funded progressively by the government. This historic site is celebrated as the birthplace of the United States, where the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, and the United States Constitution was crafted and signed in 1787. Rumored to be haunted by the spirits of Benedict Arnold and Benjamin Franklin, numerous witnesses have reported seeing ghostly mist and apparitions within its walls. Benjamin Franklin, renowned as an intellectual and statesman, was chosen as Pennsylvania's delegate to the Second Continental Congress in 1775. Over the years, Franklin's apparition has been frequently sighted in the assembly room, often accompanied by an eerie mist and, at least one time, a distinct musty smell. Benedict Arnold, a general in the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War, felt unjustly passed over for promotions by the Continental Congress, and he felt as if other officers were receiving credit for his achievements. His marriage into a loyalist family and his wife Peggy Shippen's influence led Arnold to engage in secret negotiations with British Major John Andre, planning to surrender West Point to the British. However, their plot was exposed in September 1780, when American militiamen captured Andre with incriminating papers. Arnold managed to escape, but Andre was hanged. Today, it is said that the restless spirit of Benedict Arnold, full of regrets, wanders throughout Independence Hall. Let's move along to the ghost of the Boston Massacre. The Boston Massacre, a pivotal event, occurred on March 5, 1770, when 7 British soldiers opened fire into a crowd of enraged Bostonians, resulting in 5 deaths and 6 injuries. This massacre was the culmination of escalating tensions between the Boston colonists and the English Parliament. The roots of this conflict trace back to the end of the 7 Years' War in 1763. Faced with a staggering military debt, England sought to recover costs by imposing taxes on the North American colonies, justifying these levies as essential for national security. However, the colonists vehemently opposed these taxes, arguing that they infringed upon their natural rights as Englishmen. This fierce dispute over taxation and representation sparked violent clashes between the Bostonians and the royal customs officials. To quell the unrest, British soldiers began occupying Boston in 1768. On the fateful night of March 5, 1770, tensions reached a boiling point as the colonists took to the streets, provoking the British soldiers with thrown objects and relentless insults. Private Hugh White, feeling threatened, called for reinforcements. As more soldiers arrived, they found themselves surrounded by the hostile crowd, unable to retreat. The taunts escalated until shots were fired, resulting in the deaths of Samuel Gray, Samuel Maverick, James Caldwell, Crispus Attucks, and Patrick Carr. These victims were laid to rest in a mass grave at the Granary Burying Ground, one of America's oldest graveyards and the 3rd oldest in Boston. Visitors to Granary often report feeling an eerie presence hovering over their shoulders, such as Samuel Adams, John Hancock, Robert Treat Paine, and Paul Revere. The site holds a distinct sense of history and haunting. The next place I want to talk about has ghosts from both colonial America and the Civil War. So let's get into the history of the ghosts at Fort Mifflin. Fort Mifflin stands as the oldest continually used fortification in the United States, a testament to its enduring historical significance. Named after General Thomas Mifflin, who later became governor of Pennsylvania, Fort Mifflin played a critical role during multiple conflicts, including the Civil War when it held civilians and both Confederate and Union prisoners. In the fall of 1777, a small garrison of around 200 men, which later grew to 400, was tasked with holding Fort Mifflin against the British to the last extremity. This strategic defense allowed General Washington and his exhausted army to retreat to winter quarters at Valley Forge. For almost 6 weeks, American troops at Fort Mifflin and Fort Mercer successfully held off the British Navy. The pivotal moment came on November 10, 1777, when the British launched a massive assault, initiating the largest bombardment of the Revolutionary War. On November 15th, the British intensified their attack, using the Vigilant and the Fury, armed with 19 cannons, alongside 6 more ships with 209 cannons, firing at Fort Mifflin. Reports indicate that at one point, 1,000 cannonballs were fired at the fort within an hour. British Marines even threw hand grenades from the crow's nest as they approached the fort. Despite the relentless bombardment, Major Simeon Thayer managed to evacuate the remaining garrison to Fort Mercer. A small group of 40 men stayed behind to destroy the quarters at Fort Mifflin before retreating. Historian Mark Boatner III estimated that American casualties totaled 250 killed and wounded from a garrison that had 450 men plus reinforcement. Today, Fort Mifflin is reputed to be haunted, with visitors reporting experiences from being touched, pushed, or pulled by unseen forces. Apparitions of soldiers cleaning their weapons and disembodied voices are commonly cited. Among these spectral residents is the Faceless Man, believed to be the ghost of the Union soldier William H. Howe, who was executed on the base in 1864. Howe, known for his bravery and cheerful disposition, was sentenced to death for desertion and murder after a tragic misunderstanding and subsequent altercation led to the death of an officer. His cell in the fort still bears his carved initials W.M.H. Howe. Howe's ghost, seen in the same cell, is said to be faceless due to the bag placed over his head during his execution. Paranormal host Greg O'Brien suggests that Howe's restless spirit stems from public humiliation he endured, leaving him to roam the grounds, not as a violent entity, but an unhappy one. Another spectral figure at Fort Mifflin is the Screaming Woman, who haunts the officers' quarters, mourning the loss of men during the siege of Fort Mifflin. These hauntings add to the rich and eerie history of Fort Mifflin, making it a fascinating location for paranormal enthusiasts and historians alike. Before we go any further, if you have any videos or topics you'd like me to talk about, please send me a message at ko-fi.com/foxfireparanormal. I'll leave a link in the description below. As a special treat, let's dive into a lesser-known tale about witches. After all, can we really explore spooky colonial America without touching on the infamous witch trials? While Salem witch trials are the most renowned, have you ever heard of the Philadelphia witch trials? To be fair, there was only one recorded witch trial in William Penn's colony back in 1648. The accused was Margaret Matson, a Swedish immigrant who pleaded not guilty to charges of witchcraft. Unlike the harsh proceedings in Salem, Margaret was allowed to defend herself in court, complete with interpreters and a jury that included fellow Swedes. The jury found Margaret and another woman, Yeshro Hendrickson, guilty of having the reputation of being witches. However, there was no law against merely being a witch. To maintain peace in the colony, William Penn, who presided as judge, imposed a fine of £50 on the women's husbands as a bond. Margaret and Yeshro had to maintain good behavior for 6 months. If no further accusations arose, the money would be returned. This sentence, known as a peace bond, was a Quaker method to promote harmony and good conduct. This approach starkly contrasts with the infamous Salem witch trials. Salem's Puritan colony, established with the intent of reforming the Church of England, was steeped in religious anxiety and fear of eternal damnation. This fear, combined with sermons warning of the dangers of witches and tales of European witch hunts, created a volatile atmosphere. Salem's leadership and judicial system failed to protect the accused or maintain order, leading to the persecution of 59 people. 20 of them were executed before the hysteria finally subsided. In contrast, Penn's colony was founded on the principles of religious tolerance, self-governance, and a fair justice system. The difference in governance and religious outlook resulted in vastly different outcomes for those accused of witchcraft. What do you think about these contrasting approaches to the witch trials? The Philadelphia witch trials offer a fascinating glimpse into how different colonial ideologies shaped their responses to the fear of witchcraft. With that, we finished today's little journey through some of the haunted side of early American history. Thank you for watching. I have left all my sources in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to the channel for more creepy videos and ghost stories. Make sure to hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when a new video is uploaded. And let me know your thoughts on these early American stories and which one was your favorite in the comments below. Stay haunted, and I'll see you in the next video.